Previously on AFTN.
I would rather have a 2-0 lead than be getting beat 4-0. But is it the most dangerous lead? I mean, we kind of talked a little bit about this off.
Wait, you would rather have a 2-0 lead than being down 4-0?
Yeah.
It's kind of obvious.
Exactly.
This is not a lead. You're talking.
This section is off to a great start.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on 101.9 FM, CITR Radio, from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I am Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And if you're listening to this show on the podcast, this is episode 336. The guys didn't have a chance to do a preview podcast last week. Something cropped up, unforeseen circumstances. There's a few unforeseen circumstances in the Whitecap Chicago Fire game on the Friday night as well. We'll be talking about that in tonight's show, obviously. We'll be just looking at the general Whitecaps malaise, MLS West, some Game of Thrones references since it kicked out tonight. We've got an old section returning. We're going to find out if Jon Erice, in only his second ever English interview, understood what I meant when I asked him if he wanted a chocolate digestive. And lots more besides. Football Violence Awareness Month coming up as well, so you don't want to miss that. But we are starting on Friday evening. Something that made me want to commit some violence watching that game. Whitecaps, Chicago Fire. Another game to test both our patience and our sanity, I think. Now, it depends on your outlook on life, how you want to approach this. We can either look at the glass half full. We can go with the glass half empty. Or my approach, getting that glass, smashing it on a table, and then slashing somebody. Not saying pro referees, not encouraging that or condoning it, not condemning it either, and taking that broken glass, holding someone against the wall and just going, why? Tell me why?
It was a frustrating Friday
Just a
evening.
tad.
But what was more frustrating for you, Michael, the football or the VAR?
First half was dreadful. Masked a little bit in the second half by taking the lead, and then VAR just overshadowed everything, which in a lot of ways is bad because it's papering over a lot of the cracks. That's what folk are focusing on.
Yeah.
That was the big talking point after the match, not how dreadful it was overall, because we're 6 games in, we've still got no wins. But the glass half full approach, we took our first point on the road. And I don't think we even really deserved that point. It wasn't a game we deserved to win, so we were up. If VAR hadn't happened and we got 3 points, we didn't deserve to win that. Obviously, who cares? You take the win, a win is a win.
With your glass on the table, we're doing a smash and grab.
Yeah. Most certainly would have been a smash and grab. Then you've got the VAR, which feels like a punch in the gut, and you feel like someone has just taken 2 points away from you. Whether it's the correct decision and it's Daniil flailing arms Henry, or whether it's the wrong decision and it's the referees again. All things considered, though, should we be happy that we even got a point out of this match, the way that things played out?
I think Vancouver should feel
fortunate
to get a point out of what was not a great performance, even though it was an away match, and the approach was, as you would say, Michael, win at all costs. Who cares what it looks like?
Yeah,
that's fair. That's a fair approach, but it was a dreadful game of football. I don't think the performance was really worthy of a point, and so they're probably fortunate to get one.
It seems unbelievable that he can't get people to start the game off right. The LA game exception, because actually that one that was started right.
Except
for the chip.
Do you think that's on him though, Steve?
It's not on him. I'm just wondering why he can't get the. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm actually kind of blaming the players because I'm assuming he's doing everything he can.
To get and if I was a player that wasn't performing, I would be terrified of Mark DeSantos. Yeah. He's going to take no prisoners, and he's going to call you out as well. And the players are going to have to start to realise that. We've talked about former players of his have said he's a hard taskmaster and he expects and demands a lot, and rightly so. You're not there to be their friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's what? Why did they start off that way? Why can't we get our forwards to play well unless they come off the bench?
Yeah, that's true. And even the wingers. Yeah, forwards and wingers.
This is the first game where both Lass and Venuto came off the bench, right?
Yes. And I've seen some people saying they'd like to see both of those guys on the wing to start a game. And it's like,
we have. It hasn't worked yet.
I just don't think that's the way to go forward, because we don't know what we're going to get from them. If they both start the game and they're both off, that's just...
Well, I think he didn't start them because it was an away match.
Yeah.
It seems like they always have like a good spell of 20 minutes at the start of the game, but then afterwards just tail off. But this one, I don't think was even there at the beginning.
No. I was quite bored during that first half. My match report basically consisted at that point, at half time, of the one shot that Max tipped over the bar.
Yeah.
That was it.
I was traveling to a retreat in near Hope, and so I didn't get to see all of the first half live. I got to see the end of it on my phone, and then the second half I watched on the Wi-Fi at the local McDonald's, and man, it was the first half wasn't great. The second half was nothing to write home about. I mean, there was moments that were interesting, but it was not. The football was not good. Well, it was still not good.
We'll do our usual good, bad, and ugly, but we'll start things off with the goals. Yeah. And after a dreadful first half, if someone had said to me, Whitecaps are going to come out and take the lead in this one, I mean, obviously anything can happen in football, but it seemed a stretch that was going to happen because we had no creativity going. It just felt a long way off. But, thankfully, David Ousted, still a Whitecap at heart, God bless him, decided, my former team are struggling. I'm going to give them a helping hand, literally, by throwing the ball towards Jordi Reyna. Now, what was he even doing in that play? Why did he chase that ball down when you've got a defender there?
Yeah, I feel terrible for David because I
partly do.
I really appreciate David,
especially after the gaff.
Yeah,
no,
I appreciate him more now. Yeah.
No, but that is a good fair.
I've always liked David Ousted. He's a quality guy and a good footballer.
Yeah, there's a fair question saying why did he feel the need to chase that ball down,
or even if he knows he's getting towards the edge of the box, you've got a defender there. You just you give the strike. Okay, you take this. I can't go for it.
Or you hoof it out of touch.
You punch it out, or you hit it out, or something.
I'll actually because I couldn't figure it out either. But,
goalkeeper Steve, tell us.
No, not goalkeeper Steve. Paul Dolan mentioned that he thinks that David Ousted was kind of. He didn't say it this way, but I'm paraphrasing. He was so bored during that, but he wanted to get involved in the match a little bit. And then when he realized he was by the line, he just actually let it go because he knew he would get a red card if he handled it outside the box.
That's the thing. No, he didn't let it go, but he shifted his body so he could get it in the box. And when he went down on it,
slipped out of his.
But then he
slipped out. Did
it slip out?
A little bit.
It slipped out first, and then when he thought the closer cap was going to get it,
Then he
hit it away and went
okay.
right to Jordy.
So yeah, that's essential. And by the way, shout out to Paul Dolan. His birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday. But that makes sense in a way, because goalkeepers are kind of a weird thing. If they get kind of bored or they want to get involved, and they might do the stupid thing like that. So that could be the reason why David did it.
Maybe.
I can't see it be for boredom, but it makes it for a good story.
Yeah. No matter what you want to say about the play, the way that Jordy finished it was quality. It was a cool, composed finish. We've seen players all over the world in opportunities like that.
Zlatan in the week before.
Yeah, blasting over when you've got the goal gaping. He kept his head, considering the fact that he's not had a great start to the season. That's even better. Great finish. But we know what he's capable of, and it's that inconsistency that makes him even more frustrating. I can only hope that this kickstarts or lights a spark or a fire or something in him, but realistically, the way he's been playing, do you think it's going to?
I don't know. If the game, if it was a different kind of game, I don't think they take a lot of. Well, you hope that. I think they'll hope to take momentum from that game, but I don't. If you really look back at it, it's hard to see why. Aside from
he got pulled off quite soon after the scoring as well
in the second half. Yeah, but no, yeah, it could be. I mean, the Colombian got a penalty. It hasn't worked out for him, or it hasn't kickstarted him, right?
That's true.
Yeah. Then after that, Ardiaz, another guy who plays better when he comes off the bench. It seems like
he cracked one off
the bar. Could have given it to the goalie.
That was a quality chance. That should have been a goal.
That was all him. Now
that was the best chance of the game.
He's had 3 really good chances this year,
yeah.
and all of them have basically been created by his own hustle.
Yes, exactly. And he almost gave the Whitecaps that dangerous 2-goal lead.
Yes, and as we know, that would definitely have led to a draw because it's the most dangerous lead that there is. But for the Whitecaps, when you've got VAR, 1-0 is a dangerous lead. And that miss ended up proving crucial because a few minutes later, wham, bang, pow, another penalty was called. The 4th call to go against us in 6 matches. The 5th penalty in a Whitecaps match in 6 games, which is unbelievable. And it was another video review that went against the Whitecaps. And I'm sure you can guess what that made me. Now, if we had recorded this on Friday night, this would just be an expletive-laden segment. But I'm a bit calm.
Oh.
I've enjoyed Game of Thrones. I've had a nice weekend watching Provincial Cup action. I haven't seen this mythical replay that apparently was shown in the US that shows it was a clear handball. Lots of people have talked about this. Have you seen this replay?
I don't think Canadians are allowed to see it.
Ah. Is that because of Trump? Has he banned us from seeing
No,
it?
it's MLS.
Part of the NAFTA
it's like MLS player
agreement?
rules. Like if you're Canadian, you can't just go play for any team anywhere.
Oh, so we're not allowed domestic TV footage.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
okay. Right. Let's just get straight to it then. For you, from everything that you've seen, yay or nay?
I think for me, when it happened in the game, and I think someone in Chicago raised a hand, if I remember, when it happened, like, hey, put a shout in for the call or whatever. I thought, oh, this is gonna come back. And then, but then the play went on, and I thought, oh, maybe not, because I think wasn't it there a throw in and they took it?
Yeah, they took a throw in as well.
Which is not supposed to. VAR's only supposed to go up till like the next stoppage or something.
Yeah,
so they kind of broke the rules a bit.
Well, they're saying the referee indicated not to take the throw in, so he'd already indicated he was going to review it, so that the fact that they took it. It didn't matter.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
But from a conspiracy theory point of view, yeah, it's like.
Yeah, so I wasn't surprised. Do I think it was a penalty? I think it's. I think under the letter of the law, I think so. I think it's fair. I think it's fair to be given. However, I think it's incredibly harsh. I think Steve, a number of weeks ago, you brought up how IFAB is trying to change the rule for handball.
Make it more clear.
Make it more clear. That definitely needs to be done.
Yeah.
My biggest concern, I think one of the biggest valid concerns out of this whole discussion is the maybe the clear and obvious part.
And that's what I have an issue with now. From what I saw on the replay, and this is I saw the replay on YouTube. And I think that might have been the one that Chicago they showed, but you could see when the kick is like flick made backwards towards Daniel Henry, his arm like flaps almost like that, right?
Well, you can see that from one of the front.
So
ones.
if it hit his shoulder or chest, his arm wouldn't have gone like that. Now, personally, that's circumstantial. That's not a clear showing that you're taking physics into it at that point. I don't know if you can do that when you're doing a review. You have to actually see the ball hit the arm. Now we'll see obviously when they do that MLS instant replay or whatever they do on Mondays and see if they actually show the replay that we never got to see. So I guess we'll see. But from what the big issue I have is, even if he was coming in there the way Daniel Henry coming in there, I didn't need to see him make his impersonation of Leonardo DiCaprio on the Titanic, where he had his arms wail out, "I'm the king of the world."
Oh, see, I more think of him as one of those wind flailing arms.
Yeah,
that you see
well,
in
he's
car
like
lots.
that.
It's like,
But this one was straight out like this, basically, like arms on each side.
Oh, it's coming up for Easter.
Yeah, it could be.
He's just paying homage
He's
to the big man.
Celebrating Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now,
But
yeah.
he said it was his shoulder. Right?
He said that it was his shoulder. I trust him. He's Canadian. He wouldn't lie. He's a good Canadian boy. Nothing that I've seen shows clear and obvious hitting the arm.
No.
But folks said those that saw it in the US, the angle that they showed it hit the arm. So if we see this, I'll apologise, Pro got it right. But from what we've seen, I also think it's hard to get your arm out of the way when it's at point blank range like that. But Henry doesn't help himself by having his arms up and
that's fair.
to begin
and
with.
that's where this whole clarification will be really helpful, because I can't remember the details of it, but there really needs to be more specifics, especially regarding in the box.
Whatever changes happen, though, for MLS are going to start next year.
No, I know.
Because
Yeah,
the decision was made in the middle of the year, so it's not going to happen this year.
The Whitecaps are also going to get all these makeup calls in the last game of the season.
When
20 penalties we're going to get.
Oh, they got one against LA and it didn't work, though.
that was a makeup, yeah. That felt,
Yeah.
Kind of.
the other thing was
Screwed again by a penalty.
again, we didn't see on the Canadian broadcast. Did the referee even look at it, or did he just get told?
Yeah, I didn't see him go and look at it. Because there's two things that VAR can review. Clear and obvious error or a serious missed event. So folk are saying, well, it's the latter. He's had in his ear, oh, you've seriously missed a penalty here. It's like, oh, okay, thanks, bud. Okay, penalty. I didn't see him go and look at it either.
But
we might not have seen it.
But they were watching the touchline or whatever, right? With the upcoming
But I mean,
substitution
to be
for
fair,
Katai.
we had the Wizards broadcasting. The magical Harry Potter Wizards. Luke Wildman, Stephen Caldwell.
Yeah.
3 games they managed to do. Teleporting between going to Chicago and then going to Montreal and
Going
then
to
Seattle today. Their air miles, that private jet that TSN's got's amazing.
No, they're just in a studio in Toronto.
Don't break
Spoiled the match, eh?
Oh,
Next you'll be telling me the Easter Bunny's not real.
sorry. You mean to let you see behind the curtain there? And welcome to Oz.
Don't like that. That's terrible. But here's another question then. If that was a penalty, and we had a little
yes,
text,
I text you right
chat
away
about this.
This
I
was-
hadn't seen it when you texted me because I at a game.
This. If you're enraged by Friday, like this takes it to another level.
Partly, in that Portland didn't get a penalty, so that negated my anger because it kept us still ahead of Portland. But yeah, the Dallas Portland game, how is that not a penalty?
Yes.
But the Whitecaps one was a penalty.
Yeah.
And again, it was 2-1 Dallas, and near the end of the game, a Portland shot hits. I forget it was Hedges or who it was, but hit clearly. Oh, sorry. Clearly from one angle hits his arm. The commentators were so bad. On the second angle they show, like they didn't say anything about the first angle. They see the second angle and they're like, oh, that looks like it hits his chest on that angle. And then they show the one where it clearly hits his hand. And they're like, but it looks like it hits his hand on that one. And then they showed the other one again. They're like, but on that one, I think it's chest.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, come on.
Henry's arms definitely go back, and I think it is. Again, this is me giving him the benefit of the doubt that he knows the ball's coming, so he's throwing his arms back because he doesn't want it to hit.
And to be clear, the one for Portland was not given, and it was more clear, in my opinion, than.
And it was mysteriously left out of the highlights thing on the MLS
not
website
mysterious.
as well.
There's no mystery behind that. You saw it. Does that look more clear to you? The Dallas one?
It looked the same, pretty much.
This is why, and again, I'll harp on it again. They need a central location where they have somebody supervising all the calls, and they can, if they need a second person to look at and do it, and take it out of the referee on the field's hands. Just take it out of their hands.
I think
completely.
we joked about this last year, or at the end of last year, or whatever, or at the beginning of this year. But like, MLS is not done well enough at improving the officiating, and so having a VAR official, having a pro official do VAR at every stadium when you don't have highly competent referees to begin with, just felt like a disaster waiting to happen. And now I think this year you're seeing it happen. And so I think you do need. This is where get Howard Webb back or whatever, and have that person doing the VAR in a central, like you said, Steve, in New York or whatever.
We need to get him on the show, and I'll explain to him that I'm an angry bastard.
He wants to kick the Charles round the balls. He wants to kick Kevin Keegan round his hall. He wants to scream and shout in Thatcher's face. He wants to drink and forget the human race. He's an angry bastard, I like it. He's an angry bastard, he's alright. He's an angry bastard, I like it. He's an angry bastard, he's alright.
Got a nice little tweet in from Whitecap Scarf who said, just change the name of the show to I'm an Angry Bastard with the way that things are going right now. Also, Arna Salveson tweeted us to say, the rules of VAR aside, I still think it was too close to Henry to be called, regardless of the position of his arms. But as Manuel Veth said, because Manuel he was tweeting lots of good stuff out on Friday night, it's an issue that, as we talked about, just masked the overall performance. Yeah. So we'll get into some of the good, the bad, and the ugly in this part moving into the next.
That is a good show, because I think the Dallas Portland was similar. It was so close.
Yeah. There's not a lot you can do.
The Henry one was even closer, I think.
Let's try and get some of the anger out of us by focusing on the good, or what good there was. And one of them, you've got to say, is Max Crepeau's performance, but his growth as a goalkeeper that we've seen since the first game against Minnesota.
Since really quickly. He's like, it's been meteoric the way he's grown into a solid goalkeeper. And I think personally that I don't unless he has a complete like awful game, like a howler or whatever you want to call it. Unless he has that, I don't think we see Zach McMath in the starting spot at all.
I was talking with someone about things. Was it last night? I think it was even last night. Talking about the Vancouver MLS keepers and kind of the 6 main starters that there have been. And I kind of just said, if I had to choose one of the 6, this is my Canadian bias coming through. I said I'd probably choose Maxime Crepeau as the one I'd want the most to be there and to. I would go Ousted to grow. Well, I think Ousted has a better resume and all that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of who you want there and who you want and who you think has the potential to grow, I think. Maxime,
I thought when you said Canadian bias, you were going to say Joe Cannon. It's part Canadian.
Oh no, I love Joe.
I know. I'm just saying it's part Canadian.
Love Jay, Brad Knighton. Who am I missing? Who are missing? Oh, Mrnovic.
Brian Rowe.
We'll
come to him. Yeah. We'll be facing him soon enough. But yeah, Max had some big saves against Chicago. The one in the first half from Kadai.
Oh, the second.
That was a great one. Tip over. But yeah, the best Sapong in the last 2 minutes that at least salvaged a point for us. Because the way that things had gone, if you expected them to just go on and get that winner.
That should have been a goal.
Yeah. I agree. I don't see McMath getting back in. And when Max started the season, I was surprised that he got the start because I thought McMath was maybe going to get it.
Yeah.
And then the first game, I was like, I don't know if Max is really the starter, but he's just grown into this so much. Something else I liked about him from what he brought to the game on Friday night was he had headed clearances. He came out and headed a few times. Now, that can be risky. Yeah. But if you've got a team that's doing a high press, not that we saw tons of it, but if your team's not anywhere near you, having a goalkeeper that's capable of doing that.
And the first one in the first half, was it the first half? Yeah, that was a pretty spot on header.
Yeah, it was quite
because it was
went
right
far
accurate.
as well.
Yeah.
Another good aspect, I liked what Scott Sutter brought to right back. And I tweeted that out, and there was a few people said, no, they thought he gave the ball away too much. They didn't like what he did. They didn't think he got forward enough. But I think that was the game plan. He wasn't to go forward.
They're not getting forward enough, I think, was fair. But again, I would agree with you. Like we've said about other players in the past, why aren't they doing more of this night? I think it has to do with the approach to the match.
He had a 72% passing accuracy, which you might think, well, that's not great. It was better, and we're going to come to that in the next part. It was better than most of the rest of the team and the actual average for the team as well. But him and Crepeau got the highest rating from who scored at 7.1. He had 3 aerial clearances, and I just like the experience that he brings there. Jake's a good player. Jake brings a lot going forward, but defensively this year, he hasn't been great. And I'd like to see Sutter get a little bit of a run.
Yeah, but I think we're going to see, for the time being, because the congestion right now, that we're going to see
I think there might be
Nowitzki at home and Sutter on the road. That's my guess.
I wouldn't be too averse to that either, just because of the experience that he's bringing to that back line as well. So that was our good takes from the game.
Should we just stop there?
Yeah, I think we should. And we'll go to part 2, and then we'll take it all back down again.
Hi, I'm Mark Dos Santos, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
The Rizillos there, our Artists of the Month for April, Scottish punk and new wave band from the late 70s, still going today. That was Flying Saucer Attack. And when we get to our MLS roundup, I'm going to talk about a match that I wish a flying saucer had come down and just attacked everyone on the pitch. But we'll come to that. I'm sure you can guess which game it was. But you are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, 101.9 FM. So we're back to talk the bad and the ugly, unfortunately.
I thought we were just not going to do
Need a whole part for this. So I thought, move this into part 2. The bad from Friday's game. It's not so much Whitecaps related, but it was a really shit crowd again in Chicago. 10,400 and something, I think it was in the end. They need to get this moved downtown that they're looking for ASAP.
I think it's either Soldier Field, which is where the football team plays,
but
or
they're tied into at least until 2036 or something.
But one of the guys on the radio said that they're willing to buy out on it so they can get out of it. So I guess it's going to happen probably.
Yeah. That said, it was a horrible night. It was super windy on the pitch apparently, and you've got to be honest and say that the Whitecaps aren't exactly a real draw for opposition fans right now. But it makes you wonder as well, how much longer, if we play like this, are we going to be a draw for home fans? Because we've got our season ticket base, but the casuals that are coming to games, we don't get wins on the board soon or play entertaining games at least, which, you know my thoughts on that, a win is a win. Yeah. Our crowds, that could prove to be a hard sell if we fall off the pace of the playoffs. And it looks like the season's a write-off.
Especially in the summer.
Yeah, the summer, you've got the Lions, you've got the nice weather, you've got all the other things. Whitecaps front office must be shitting bricks just now as to what this could lead to for them.
But that's like half the story. What they'll focus on, or the way they'll try and be encouraged, is their average so far is like 24,000 because each of the games have been big matches, and they've opened up more than their chosen
and
capacity.
Fair credit, it's like the fans are coming just now. They've supported the team. Mm-hmm. The test will be
Wednesday.
I think
it's this Wednesday because
you're playing a top team, but it's a midweek game.
A top team, but no superstar.
No,
No superstar.
Superstars that we
no,
feel,
No
but yeah.
superstar that the casual will recognize,
Yes.
right? No,
There's no Zlatan, there's
no
no Rooney,
epic idol
there's
or
no
anything. Yeah.
Schweinsteiger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Epic Idol? Is that what
Epic
you
Idol.
There's no Scottish player like Johnny Russell.
Oh, we'll get to
We'll
him
get
later.
to him later as well. On the pitch, the Whitecaps were outshot 23-9. Now, it's
The
not
White Cops?
Whitecaps were outshot, and that doesn't happen. It's usually Whitecaps outshooting other folk, especially in Chicago. But the Whitecaps outshot 23-9. I expect that for a road game, really. And we were kind of lucky because Chicago only got 6 of those on target.
How about this one? Clearances, I think Whitecaps had 36 and the Chicago had 4.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
massive difference there.
The heat map is a whole other thing as well, which we'll come to in some of these later bits. You could say that this was a Roboball style performance, if you want to use that phrase. And yeah, I don't care about that, especially on the road. You want to do what you need to do to get a win. But what was more irritating was it wasn't even a well executed Roboball type performance. The heat map, as I was just talking about there, it looked like we forgot there was a final third. Everything is played in the other 2/3 of the pitch, and Chicago appeared camped just past our halfway line. It's just a big fiery mass of fire players, funnily enough. But their box ties in with David Ousted being bored and just wanting something to do. We just did not penetrate that. It was just absolutely dreadful. And we only lost possession 16 times compared to Chicago's 28, but that's basically because we didn't have it very much to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really.
Not much
What
to
you can
say.
say
There was
about
not
that.
much to say.
Yeah, there's not much to... You covered it all.
Yeah. Now, I'm classing that as the bad side. That's not even the ugly side of things. Let's move into the ugly side now. Yeah, the penalty decision had everyone talking. And as we've touched on, the performance was masked by that, and it was an ugly performance. I would say you could maybe argue that defensively they did fairly well because they didn't give any goals in, but I don't feel overall. I think this is the first match where we haven't seen any real improvement across the team from the week before. We gave 2 goals up against LA, but that was to Zlatan. We gave a controversial goal up to Chicago, but they didn't really threaten too much apart from that. You had Kadai's shot, Sapong's, but we managed to hold him at bay.
It was a good
Especially
penalty.
for the amount of it, how much it was tilted one way. You're right. There wasn't that many opportunities. It was similar to the Seattle game at home in a way, because Seattle kind of carried the game, but they never really got opportunities. They never really tested Kripke. So
Except for this match with the football was dreadful.
yeah, it was dreadful.
Overall,
Yeah.
it was dreadful.
Yeah.
Chicago's never going to win a World Cup playing like that.
Nikolić's finish on the PK was clinical.
And we did shut Nikolić down. It was a good penalty.
I know, but you just had to
Yeah.
mention that.
But we shut him down. And that's a plus at least. But yeah, overall it was terrible. We seem to have forgotten or have no idea how to create anything. And I think a lot of it was due to our pass accuracy. And I mentioned that Sutter has a 72% pass accuracy, which you think, oh, that's not that good. Our team average was 69%, and that's the average. And Sutter was one of the better ones. Chicago, 82% pass accuracy. But our pass accuracy in the attacking half and the final third was 58%. And our accuracy in crosses, which for a team that you think that might be our best chance just now, 17%.
But the one thing about the 58%, you have to admit that it's a small sample size
True.
because they didn't have that
Yeah.
many passes to make.
3 shots,
Yeah.
two went around.
Forget about the numbers, Michael. Just tell us how you feel.
Can we cue the music up again? No. I've seen them practice crossing in training. They do know how to do it. Yeah, a lot of the time it doesn't get on the man that they're looking for, but at least it lands on a Whitecap player in training. That's a plus.
Aren't they all Whitecap players?
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Oh, man.
I don't know how you turn this around. Mark DeSantos is going to pull his hair out. He's going to end up looking like his brother.
Yeah. He will. Yes. Or you.
Or Jonathan.
Which Jonathan?
Jonathan Dos Santos. That was a call back to last week.
Right, yeah, okay. No, yeah. You can imagine their frustration. I think if you ask them, they would just say,
Me no.
No, they would just say, yeah, this task is difficult, and in some ways maybe more difficult than they thought. Because I definitely don't think, even with all the massive changes or whatever, I don't think any of the coaches on the staff would say they thought this is where they'd be after 6 games.
No.
And not even. I don't think even pessimistically they would have thought they could be this bad.
Well, I had us at 2 points after 5, so we're even worse off than I thought, and I was pretty pessimistic.
Yeah,
We've got 2 now, though.
So, no, I think this coaching staff, like previous coaching staffs, I think is just going to put their heads down and continue to work hard and continue to demand the best from the players they have and try and move forward.
Well, talking to coaches, let's hear their thoughts now. We're going to hear first from Chicago's Veljko Paunovic, who I really like as a coach. Whenever he's been here, I've really enjoyed talking to him. He's a good guy to speak to. And then we'll hear from MDS.
I fell in love again. All things go, all things go. Drove to Chicago. All things know, all things know.
I also think that we had a very good game. I think we dominated absolutely, especially in the first half, especially with the control of the result. I think we read very well how the opponent is going to play and what they were doing. We created opportunities. We just didn't be sharp with that. Definitely, we're not happy with the result today, but the team also is currently improving in the form, is doing very well. We fought back after we conceded a goal, unfortunate goal that happens in this game, and we have to be ready for that. And I think we had a good reaction. I think we came back, we tied, we also created opportunities. The game ends in the box of our opponent until the last second. I think we pushed. So that will be the recap of the game and the performance of my players. And I think that I'm really proud because I saw the team that fights, the team that plays the way we plan and we prepare, and the team that is capable of reacting, never giving up. And with all that, I'm very, very confident. I truly believe in my group. I believe in all these guys, and I'm sure that very soon we're going to come back on a winning streak, which is something that we are looking for. Our current form is still not where we want to be, but definitely I think we're going to get there. I think if we just keep playing this way, being smart, and obviously minimizing or eradicating the mistakes, defensive mistakes, we can be successful. And right now we're not happy where we are, but we're confident.
Pano, when you look at the offense, what's missing in that final third to get the goals?
I think we cannot say that it's just the game like today. You missed your opportunities. That's we have a lot of pieces in attack. The guys are creating a lot of opportunities, a lot of shots on goal, finishing actions. It's just the precision. We lack of precision, and the final pass maybe to be a little bit more cooked, prepared. And I think that's something that we may miss now. But definitely today was, I think the mindset of the guys was very, very sharp. And we just missed a little bit more of completing the full sequence of the passes that we had with the ultimate final pass, which I think we that's where we missed maybe.
There's two feelings. One, we played a very good team. They created a lot of problems. We had to defend very well, and that sometimes brought us to defend very low on the field, not something that we really wanted to do, but the circumstances of the game, and sometimes it's also credit to the opponent. They pushed us back, and the quality of Kataj, Nikolic, Gaitan, Mihailovic, also when he came on. The first half we gave a little bit too much time to Schweinsteiger. It seems like even if he's playing as a center back, he's able to step in pockets and dictate a little bit of the game. Of course, then we get the first goal, we're up, And then it's a little bit of luck factor, I would say. We have a great chance with Ardaiz that takes a great shot. It's the crossbar, could have been 2-0, doesn't go in. They stay in the game, and then there's this call that I don't know. The angle doesn't look like it's a penalty shot, but I don't know if the referee saw other angles.
Did the ref say anything to you about that call?
He promised. I go, look, I'm gonna be upset if it's not a penalty shot, because it's a lot in 6 games. In 6 games we've been with VAR like every day. It's incredible. I have to start putting it in training. I have to bring it part of training. I don't know. But he promised me it's a penalty shot. I'm going to look at all the angles and have my opinion.
He's the gaffer. You can try it up with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall. Has the answer to it all. He's the gaffer.
The gaffer's there. And when it comes to Paunovic's comments, if you just saw them written down and they weren't attributed to which coach said it after the game, you would really think that could be Marc Dos Santos talking about the Whitecaps, talking about the lack of finishing, not getting points at home, needing to be better quality. Very similar teams, Chicago and Whitecaps, minus us having World Cup winners and strikers that can score and world-class goalkeepers.
Consistency from last year.
Yeah. But, yeah, very, very strange comments. Mark's comments there, he was promised. He's been promised that it was a handball. Debate is still raging tonight on Twitter. I was just reading that as we were playing that there. And folk are like, it wasn't clear and obvious. It hit one thing, and did it hit another? Folk are quoting laws of the game. We're just going to move on from it, otherwise the whole show is going to be about that. But I'm looking forward to training this week because I want to see VAR in action there. Every time I see something, I'm just going to stand at the sideline and do a little rectangle. See what laughs I get. Or dirty looks, I'm not sure what. Things, though, are simply not working. And as Mark said there, he didn't foresee... Well, he actually didn't say there. He said earlier in the week, he didn't foresee a lot of rotation in the spell of 3 games in 9 days. There will be some, but he didn't see mass rotation.
I think the centre backs kind of stay the same. Probably, you'll see different. Like Cropole will probably start every game.
Yeah,
I agree with them there, but he'll take
but
one off, and somebody will play 2 games within a short time, but not everybody.
It'll be more. It won't be the midfielders either because we're kind of struggling for midfield players as well because Andy Rose still isn't cleared. David Norman's going to be out for the season. You'd think Baldissimo's still injured. Simon Coline's now away with the under-17s in the GA Cup, so we can't call him either.
Scored a wonder goal. I didn't see it yet,
today,
but
so
I saw
was
the
good.
tweet. Yeah.
So whether there's rotation or not in these games, at some point, if things keep going the way they are, something has to change. Whether it's personnel, formation, tactics, all of it combined. Is there a quick fix? It doesn't seem that there's a quick fix.
It's hard to see. I know this is not going to work because of how many games we have in so many days. But if you were going to keep the 4-3-3 formation, I'd like to have Montero up top, and then with Ardaiz and Mbom on the wings, and then put Reina in the middle in front of Erice and Tybert or Felipe, whoever. That would be because Ardaiz, while he does create stuff, is to see how much he can create on the wing, and maybe both of them play a little tighter too when they attack. So then the fullbacks have more space out there.
In that formation with those players, the over/under on goals against is 4.
Very possibly.
I don't disagree with you. It would be exciting attacking wise.
It would be
You
good
need to
going
do something
forward.
different.
It's
I'm just throwing out something completely different.
No, I'm just joking, because I think lots of people wouldn't mind seeing that, Steve.
Yeah, well,
the biggest question would be how they would defend, not how they would go forward.
Part of the big issue, and it was last year in terms of giving goals up. This year it's in terms of creating goals. It's the midfield.
Yeah.
Friday's game, you had Felipe, Tybert, and Erice, and you had 3 players that seemed to all want to play the DM role. So you can't get that going. So I don't know what you can expect or what you can do.
You need a number 10. You need a number 10, a true attacking midfield.
And we don't have that.
That's what's missing.
Somebody who can calm the ball down when they're in the attacking phase.
You know, the episode 9 trailer for Star Wars just came out this week, and what I think a number 10, a true 10, a cam, whatever would bring to the Whitecaps is balance. We talk about balance to the force and all that kind of stuff. They need some balance to the midfield, and I think if they had a 10, then they could play with a 6, an 8, and a 10, and you could find that balance within the 3. But until they bring in that type of player, I don't think anyone they have on the roster is currently able to function in that way.
That's the big issue. Who we have on the roster right now.
So it's all round pegs and square holes.
Jay San at Ratigan Can tweeted to say, I don't buy the idea that we're losing due to a lack of effort. Last year, we lost many games due to a lack of effort or heart, but not this year. And I think what he's meaning by that is it's the quality that we're lacking this year, which is why we're losing games.
I don't even think it's quality. Like, I still think they're not in preseason mode anymore. They're more start of the season mode. They had their 3-4 games where you normally would play in preseason as a full lineup because basically a lot of players came in at the beginning of the season, and now you're getting the first or second game of the season playing. So they're almost like 4 games behind whatever all the other teams are that had a decent start to their preseason.
We saw Montero and Reina back in the starting lineup for this one. Montero seems a little bit more involved. He had an 80% pass accuracy from a limited sample size again. Very small. But he did seem to be involved, but he was ineffective once again. What do we do with him? Is he potential trade bait if we bring in another striker? Surely he'll be sought after in the league.
He did not look good in this match. There was one shot, I think, in the second half where he had the ball in the box and chose to go it alone and took a really weak shot. If he had taken a better shot, it might have been so bad. But there was players coming forward that I think he could have brought into play. I think he's not. Yeah, he's obviously not in form right now.
Peter Hicken, AFTN writer, tweeted to say that that was the ugly side for him was Montero and what's to be done with the strikers. Well, you've got Reina as well. What do you do with him? He doesn't seem to fit anything or any position in this 4-3-3. Should we be moving, at least for now, from this 4-3-3 to try and get a formation that fits the actual players that we've got?
3-5-2?
Right now I would risk going with that. What could be worse than losing every game or just getting the odd point here and there?
Losing every game, getting no points anywhere?
Yeah, and losing by more than 1 goal or 2 goals.
Yeah, the thing is the 3-5-2,
what the hell?
Whenever they play 3-5-2, it hasn't worked. Now, if Karimi is ready to go,
he should be about a month away.
Oh, he's still a month away, but he was trained. He was warming up on the sideline. He had
a pretty serious injury.
He's doing his pre-training. So yeah, he's not fit to go yet, and he's going to be about a month away. So he's a long way for getting back into this. Now, DeSantis revealed in an interview, it's a multi-part interview with Matt Pence for The Athletic, so not many folk can read it. But from what I've gleaned from folk tweeting about it, DeSantis said he's in talks with 2 players from 2 of Europe's top clubs. Doesn't say who the players are, what positions, or what the top clubs are. Could be East Fife, I class him as one of Europe's top clubs. That's not to say that they're big names, of course, but they're at least playing at a high level if they're at top European clubs. Now,
is this maybe where the Kyle Larin talk was connected?
I don't know. I think they might have moved on from that.
I don't think Besiktas is a top European club.
Well, it kind of is. They're regularly in European competition. Now,
we're lowering the standard of top European.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm thinking we're looking at Germany, Spain, Italy, or England. To me, would be a top European club. Maybe France.
Not Portugal?
Maybe. now we're starting to dig a little bit. Not thinking though about where these additions may come from. If there's these 2 mysterious players coming from Europe, what 2 positions do you want these players to be in?
If everybody stays and nobody's being shipped out, then I would say a number 10 and a winger. That can play striker sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes can slip into the middle. That's the 2 positions I would want.
I think they should be in coach, so when they come here, they're in coach, so they're used to the travel for MLS. I think a number 10 for sure, And I don't. Winger might not be bad either. Steve.
Yeah. I think they would need to find a left back as well. Maybe not from one of those top teams, but they need to find a left back if Ali does not stay.
Yeah, there's that as well. My other question is, can we wait to the summer?
I have no choice at this point.
No. The window's not closed.
Yeah, but then they're going to have to pay.
Yeah, so I mean, we've still got 3-4 weeks.
If it's from one of those top clubs, maybe those top clubs don't want to let them go. That person go there.
That's the
too.
thing, and you might want to give the person a break as well from one season into the rest of the MLS season, because we've seen with Freddie, it's not great getting a guy that's been playing since August.
Or Pedro Morales back in the day.
Yeah. The danger though, like we're 7 points off the playoff spots right now.
Yeah.
We let this gap get too big. Doesn't matter who we bring in this summer. You're just planning for next year, and some ways that could be great if we're fantastic next year. It's a hard sell, though.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember the Canadian schedule right now, the Canadian Championship schedule.
It's in July.
So
we
if
start
they
off in July.
If they do sign those two players, they would be eligible for that. At least they can win something.
We're putting all our chips in the Canadian Championship.
Because that would get them to the CONCACAF, and that gives them more gam and tam and jam.
Yeah.
To the CONCACAF.
Yeah.
To the CONCACAF they go.
Yes.
We've been crying out for a 10 forever.
Even when Pedro Morales was here, we were crying out for a 10, really.
We're just never happy.
Was Kumieto a 10?
He
was close.
He is, but they never really truly played him there much. Yeah.
I still don't think he was that as good as everyone raves.
If you
he
go
was
back,
another player that had these flashes.
Yeah,
but that was
statistically, actually, he has some pretty good stats from what I remember.
If he had solid, like a 6 and an 8 behind him, then I think he would have really excelled. But I think they didn't trust. They didn't have that 6 and 8 behind him. So
they had Gersh. They had Gersh behind him back in the day.
If they didn't have the 6 and an 8, oh, just kidding.
Look at us reminiscing and yearning for 2011. That's how bad it is. But
if Phil Latimer's shot was taking a penalty, it would have gone in.
Best left back in MLS. One midfielder that is a staple is Jon Erice. I wonder what's a staple in his diet, though. Do you think it could be chocolate digestives?
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
So if you're sitting at home and you want to have a hot drink, a tea or a coffee, what would you choose? Spanish latte maybe, or like a tea or a coffee?
No, I don't like tea, so I take coffee, espresso. Yes, I like espresso, yes.
And do you like biscuits, cookies?
No,
tea?
I don't like too much, so I take the coffee alone. Yes.
That's great, thank you so much, Jon.
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
Short and sweet, much like a chocolate digestive itself. That is it. You'll be glad to know about our talk from Friday night's game. Woohoo! Yeah. We're going to look on to more positive and optimistic things coming up, like LAFC, the Supporter Shield leaders, coming to town on Wednesday. But also great things like the 1979 Soccer Bowl win. And we will be back with all that after this.
Hi, I'm Carl Valentine. You're listening to the AFTN podcast.
The Sweeney's doing 90 cause they've got the word to go. They get a gang of villains in a shed up at Heathrow. They're counting out the fivers when the handcuffs lock again. In and out at Wandsworth with the numbers on their names. It's funny how the missus always looks a bleeding sane. And meanwhile at the station there's a couple of likely lads who swear like how's your father, and they're very cool for cats, they're cool for cats. To change the mood a little, I've been posing down the pub. I'm seeing my reflection, I'm looking slightly rough. I fancy this, I fancy that, I wanna be so flash. I'll give a little muscle and I'll spend a little cash. But all I get is bitter and a nasty little rash. And by the time I'm sober I've forgotten what I've had. And everybody tells me that it's cool to be a cat, cool for cats.
Squeeze there. Iconic band from the UK. Cool for Cats. That song, 40 years ago and this week in 1979, reached its highest chart position in the UK, number 2. Was always disappointed that never made number 1. It's weird how certain songs just bring back certain images in your head as well. Whenever I hear Cool for Cats, I picture wandering around the upstairs looking at singles in John Menzies in Kirkcaldy in Fife when I was an 11-year-old boy. Just things like that. Magical stuff. What else is magical? The AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. So, playing a song from 1979 can only mean one thing. I chose it. But it also means we are in the part of a show where we're going to go back 40 years. Whoa. That's me going back 40 years.
Shakedown 1979. Cool kids never have a time.
1979. In popular culture, number one in the UK was Bright Eyes again by Art Garfunkel. It went back up. In the US, number one this week was the Doobie Brothers. What a Fool Believes. That's a song I don't really know that much.
I know I've heard of the Doobie Brothers before.
A film that was released this week in 1979, Mad Max.
Was it released this
year?
In 79?
79 this
The
week.
original.
The original
I've
Mad
seen that
Max.
one. I haven't seen all the old ones, but I've seen the original.
Yeah.
It's a interesting film.
I like it. Mel Gibson going through the desert. It's a post-apocalyptic scene. It's much like what the Whitecaps at BC Place is going to be later in the season if we don't get any points. It is.
And very...
Mad Max 1 and 2 I love. Beyond the Thunderdome I thought kind of went a little bit too far, but that...
Is that the one with Mick Jagger? Was Mick Jagger one of them?
Oh, I don't know. Can't remember now.
I'm forgetting. But the first one I remember. I've seen the first one.
TV-wise, one of the big hits in the UK was Love Thy Neighbour in Australia.
Oh.
A comedy with very racist undertones that was launched in the early 70s. It was about black and white neighbours that lived beside each other.
It sounds a little bit like All in the Family.
It may have got remade over here.
All in the Family was around the same time, actually, in the 70s as well.
Possibly. But Love Thy Neighbour in Australia... Like in the original TV show, the white guy is very racist to his black neighbour and his people that he works with as well of different ethnicities. This then flips it in that he goes to Australia, and because he's a Pommy, all the Australians are horrible to him, so he's suffering the racism down there.
Sorry, he's a what?
A Pommy. That's what Australians call English people.
Well, in All in the Family, it was just one guy being racist. It wasn't really... I don't think he had a neighbour ever. But yeah, it was just a...
Like Day in the Life of John Terry or something.
One thing that happened this weekend in TV, though, it was the end of the 4-year run of Starsky and Hutch.
Oh.
Yeah.
I loved that when I was a little kid. Paul Michael Glazer. David So. Huggy Bear.
Huggy Bear was cool.
Yeah, always liked Huggy Bear best. But the main reason that we are talking about 1979, of course, it's... 40th anniversary of the Whitecaps winning the MLS Soccer Bowl. And 40 years ago this week, the Whitecaps had their very first road game of the season. And funnily enough, they headed to Chicago. Played Chicago Sting. Now, this was a very interesting week because across the league, NASL players went on strike. They had a vote. 252 players voted to strike. 113 said no strike. In the end, 143 players did strike, but a lot of the European and foreign players were scared to strike because the US Justice Department said they could be deported for having a strike because it was classed as an illegal strike. So players had to cross the picket lines. Chicago and the Whitecaps, though, were two teams that were unaffected by the strike.
You just put an article out about this, right?
Yeah. Put that out today so you can read all about this on AFTN. The Whitecaps weren't allowed to strike under Canadian law. And Chicago had a vote, and their 20 players, 19 voted not to strike, and 1 abstained. So that match went on with full-strength teams. And what a match it was. Ended up going to a shootout. Kevin Hector scored for the Whitecaps, making it 4 goals in 4 games. Then Chicago came back. Well, so it went to a shootout. Whitecaps scored 3 other shootout goals. Bob Lenarduzzi getting one of them. Good old Canadian boy.
Where is he now?
Yeah, whatever happened to him? But the strike thing was really interesting because some teams were so badly hit by this. And I've shared a video in the article that you should watch about one of the teams, Rochester Lancers. Their coach is at the airport and he's got 2 phones. It's like he's got a phone in each ear talking to different people, just trying to get players. They had amateurs, they had like Latino players that hadn't been registered anywhere, and just anyone that could play. Certain teams had it. Portland were really badly hit, and their owners at the time actually said to fans, if you want your money back for the tickets because the team was so dreadful and they got beat, we'll give you your money back. Fascinating season.
Different times.
Yeah. 5 days later, the strike was called off because no one was going to honour it for a second week. And eventually, the next month in May, remember this is 1979, the National Labour Relations Board said, no, NASL has to enter into collective bargaining. The NASL owners argued and appealed this for 5 years before eventually agreeing to it in 1984. A few months later, the league was dead.
Yeah, that might have been the key.
Yeah. That was 1979. So, 2 wins from the Whitecaps to start off the 1979 season. Far cry from today's team, you can say. When will this first win come? Well, the next chance for the Whitecaps to get it is on Wednesday night. It's an easy game. They're playing a team that's played on Saturday. They're going to be tired. New guys on the block as well. LAFC. This should be an easy 3 points, don't you think? No. In reality, we're playing the Supporters' Shield leading LAFC, unbeaten on the season with 6 wins, 1 draw, looking very impressive. Their latest game on Saturday saw off Cincinnati 2-0 at home. In an assured performance, but it was hard fought in the end, Mark Anthony Kay got them in the lead in the 32nd minute with a nice header from a corner. It's the second goal of the season. But they had to wait until 3 minutes into stoppage time to seal the 3 points when Carlos Vela killed the game off. Spencer Ritchie.
He got away from Kendall Waston there a little
Yeah,
bit.
he did. It was a good finish, but Kendall's not going to keep up with a guy like Carlos Vela. Ritchie had made a great save 2 minutes in, one-handed save to deny Diego Rossi. And you kind of feel if LAFC had got off to an early start, that could have been a rout on the cards there. But
Kendall even took an early first half yellow for a kick on Rossi, I think, right? We're talking about.
Well, that's what you want to do. You want to kick these guys as soon as you can.
3 red cards against Rossi this year or something?
Yeah, he's drawn a lot.
The thing is, also the funny thing is that it doesn't make it look good for the Whitecaps. Is that he said, Kendall Waston said before the game that the key is to control the midfield against LAFC. I don't think that happening.
No, I don't either. Now, for this one, you could say Mark Dos Santos would be even more motivated for it because it's his old club coming to town. But he can't say that because that would make him a cheater. You have to be motivated for every game equally. But inwardly, you have to think he is. This would be a nice kind of story tale. What's the word I'm looking for? Storybook
tale ending to the winless.
Get your first win against your old team, against the Supporters' Shield leaders, showing that your team can do this. I mean, it would be sweet to do.
On a Wednesday night.
On a Wednesday night.
Place.
And if no one's there,
7 o'clock
really
kickoff.
The thing is,
tickets still available.
I know LAFC's on such a roll right now, but usually teams that are on a roll, it doesn't last like that long.
No,
like
unless you're Arsenal and you're unbeatable season.
Yeah, that's true. There are exceptions to the rule, but especially in MLS, there's not that many long streaks. There is going to be a time when this team slips
and
up.
it's a very streaky league because then once teams lose, they seem to go on a bit of a look at Portland last year.
I don't see that happen for LAFC, that they go on a roll of losing, but I do see them dropping a game here and there where they're not.
I thought you were talking about Vancouver ending their roll.
Oh no, that's going to be a record breaker. But to get a win against like the best team in the league right now would be a confidence booster.
Yeah.
Beyond confidence boosters.
Speaking of smash and grab, they're going to need.
Yeah.
Smash and grab at home.
Yeah.
We just smash some glasses and when no one's looking. But LAFC head into Vancouver, looking to make 8 games unbeaten to start the season. They've scored 21 goals so far this year, and they've given up just 5 against. Flip that, the Whitecaps have scored 5 all season. Carlos Vela, 8 goals in the year and 5 assists.
He will probably have some people in the stadium who are there solely to see him.
Oh, I'm sure of that.
Me right now. I'm looking forward to it. Something to cheer about.
But I don't think it's going to be to the same extent that Ibrahimovic had.
No.
Probably not, but I think it'll be. I think there'll be a lot of
It's a solid
Mexican fans there that will be there to watch him.
Maybe there'll be lots of Uruguayans turn up to see Diego Rossi as well, because he's got 6 goals in the year.
I think there's less Uruguayans in Vancouver. Has been my.
There's surprisingly
than Mexicans.
a lot of Brazilians.
Yes.
I went to a coffee shop that's just become a Brazilian coffee shop.
Yeah.
Up in Burnaby, and they've got all this Brazilian food. I need to tell Mark Santos about it.
Yeah.
Me and him can go there for a cappuccino.
We've had a couple of Curva Collective partners who are Brazilian.
But Vela's on fire right now. I mean, right now, he's MVP quality. But you also have Zlatan just 2 goals behind him now, which we'll come to in the next part. But between them, 14 goals in the year for Vela and Rossi. Our defence has been up and down. There's been a couple of stronger performances of late, but can we handle such potency?
I think they can if they actually play a perfect game. But
will they have to?
Will they be a play a perfect game? I don't know if they can. They haven't shown it yet.
I mean, we've not lost.
Oh, the Seattle game defensively worked out.
LA Galaxy
so
lost by 2 goals, but that was to Zlatan, so it was a bit different. All the other games, the losses, it's been by 1 goal margins, and a lot of them are controversial.
Yeah.
So there's that hope as well. But one thing about LAFC, from watching their games, their set-piece delivery is impressive. Vela's taking corner kicks, and he's been spot on with them.
Mark Anthony Kaye, both his goals, I think, are from corners.
Yeah, because his goal today was. Their link-up play, though, when they're going forward, it's a joy to watch. It's fast passes, quick movement. It's everything that Martin Santos wants the Whitecaps to do. And we just seem to just not have that link-up chemistry going right now. You don't want to be going a game too pessimistic, and obviously the players won't. I just fear that this is going to be a big struggle on Wednesday night, and it could get ugly if they score early.
Yeah, that's true. I think you could see some more. You could see another defensive approach.
I think it might have
for
to
a
be.
whole match. However, the other side of that coin, though, is that DeSantis knows them so well. He should know how to break them down, or he should know how to stifle them. So
the problem with breaking
Rossi and Vela.
The problem with breaking them down is they're not as weak on the backside as they weren't weak last year, but they had holes last year.
Yeah.
They've kind of solidified those holes this year.
True.
And the big question is, do we even have enough firepower to trouble them?
Yeah.
We've always got a puncher's chance, because anything can happen. You can hit a shot like Reina.
Yes, sir. I'm not even thinking about that.
You're not even thinking about it.
I'm not thinking about the offense. I'm thinking about the defensive side of things.
LA's defence, it's been so consistent this year. The back 5 you've got in goal,
Tyler
Miller.
Yeah.
I almost called him TJ Miller.
Your right back is Beitashour, so
Yeah.
we know him well. Your left back is Harvey, so we know him well. And the 2 centre-backs, Walker Zimmerman and the Colombian Eddie Segura. Now, out of those 5, all of them bar Beitashour have played all 7 games, and Beitashour's played 6 of them.
Yeah.
So they've got that chemistry, they've got that understanding, and they've only given up 5 goals, and they've only given up 22 shots on target.
And the thing is, though, is that there might not even be that great defensively. But the
They're
thing
just not
is,
getting tested.
they're not getting tested because they possess the ball so much. The other team's always on their back foot, so they don't have a chance to attack that much.
But this Vancouver side doesn't look like it's
No,
up
exactly.
to testing them.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
that
the other thing. We also have to have the ball to be able to test them, and that could be a big issue.
We've got the ball.
We've lost the ball. I'm wearing my goals are underrated, the beauty is in the struggle t-shirt again. It felt an appropriate time to dig that out. I think I'll wear this to Tuesday's training as well. If you look at LA though, and they've got 3 games in a week, just like us, and their next game is a massive game. It's not until the Sunday, but they've got the other unbeaten team in the West, Seattle, coming to face them. So it's a top 2 battle. We've talked about whether the Whitecaps might rotate. Is this the chance for LAFC to say, you know what, this is an easy game compared to Seattle. Let's rest a few of these guys. Does that give us a chance, possibly? Or do they want to keep this streak
If
going?
it was later in the season, they might, but I don't know if they do it this early. They maybe rest...
And maybe keep the momentum going.
Yeah, maybe they rest one of the guys, like one of their top players, but I don't think they're going to rest all of them.
It's like it's a West Coast game, right? So it's not crazy
not
travel for either of the matches for LA. So, you could see some rotation. Like you could see some, like one or two, or anything less than 3. I don't think causes them to.
What
stumble.
I could see is that if they up by a couple goals, like early or whatever, at halftime they take off somebody.
Yeah, so someone could get taken off at halftime.
Pulled off. Yes, pulled off is the correct terminology.
But even if they play a weaker team, they've still got quality that you think is going to get the job done. And if you look at some of the other positions, their midfield, and this is where the battle's going to be really won or lost. Yes, strikers finish the chances, but a lot of them's created in the middle. That's what we're lacking. You look at their midfield, they play a 4-3-3 like us, but it's a big difference in what the quality, but what they're producing.
Yeah.
Saturday's midfield 3 for LAFC, Mark Anthony Kay. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists from 6 appearances. The only game he missed was when he was up here playing for Canada. On the other wing, you had Latif Blessing, who's got 3 assists and 5 starts. And in the middle of that was Edward Atuesta, and he's got 3 assists and 7 starts. So that's a midfield that's creating and producing, and it's right now it feels like that's just something that we can only dream of.
Yeah, and then you have... It doesn't take very much for them to get it out to their attackers too, because when you have guys like Vela and Rossi, all you got to do is really get them the ball.
Yeah, and then they do the
rest.
That's the thing, and that's what our guys, you give our guys the ball, and they seem to I don't know what to do with it now.
Yeah.
We have a brutal travel schedule. So we flew to Chicago. Now we're back to Vancouver. Then we're flying off to Orlando. And we'll talk a little bit about Orlando when we do our MLS weekend review in the next part. But that is a horrible scenario for them to have to do. You would hope, knowing how difficult it is to get to Orlando, that would be a game that they would maybe charter.
You should ask that on Tuesday.
Yeah, I might, because to me that is a game that you think, let's charter the guys down there, give them a chance to rest and not have to change, because you would have to change to go to Orlando.
I know a couple of years ago when I know it was the first or second, I think it was the first game when Octavio Rivera got the header in Orlando. I think that was the game where they didn't charter and they missed their connection in Dallas or something.
Yes.
And then they got...
And the weather's all weird. There's been like tornadoes in Texas right now.
And so they got to Orlando. I think maybe it was even the day of the game, maybe, or something crazy. Like, they'd stay in Dallas. I don't know. It was crazy. But I do know that there was this sense of like, oh, yeah, we saved tens of thousands of dollars on a charter and we got 3 points. So good job.
Well, I mean, if you look at the 2 games, Orlando is the game that is the more winnable of the 2. Even though it's a long trip on paper. It's a long trip and you're playing a team that is patchy, but they can get the job done at home. They've got some good players, but we've won there before, so we can certainly look at doing stuff. If I was going to rotate players out, and I know it doesn't sit well because you're at home and you want to be your attacking best at home, I sit players for Wednesday. Just say, look, we're going to probably get beat anyway.
How many? How drastic are you thinking, Michael?
I don't know. I mean, Jake, maybe bring him in for Wednesday. Have Scott Sutter play in Orlando.
I think Sutter's got to play against Orlando.
Yeah. PC maybe up for going back to Orlando and putting in a performance because he wasn't rated there.
I think
Is he rated in Vancouver yet?
I think you rotate the wings and the striker. The midfield is probably going to have to stay the same because there's not very much to rotate there. Maybe you rotate one of the guys out of there.
I'd maybe put RDS in against LAFC and keep Freddie for Orlando.
And then on the back line, like you said, the only person I think you can rotate in the back line is Jake Nowitzki.
Yeah.
So I think the wings, striker.
Yeah, I'd maybe rest Reina as well for Orlando and put in Venuto or Bangura. And the way that Reina's playing, I know we got the goal. It's like it's 6 of one, really, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah.
I think Inbaum has to play both games full 90.
You have to feel so,
or as much as possible.
I know we're going to run that poor lad into the ground at this rate.
Did you see there was Instagram, I think, story or whatever Russell Tyler put up. It was him and I forget who it was, but Inbaum was sleeping on the plane, and they put something like he's always sleeping or whatever, and they like a selfie with him sleeping. It was pretty funny.
Did anyone leave the comment? At least he wakes up during matches.
I did not see that one below. No.
So score prediction. First of all, for Wednesday night, LAFC.
I say 6 points for the week. No, nothing.
Wow.
Okay.
What are you drinking?
No,
he is the king in the north.
He's got the Doobie Brothers going.
I think this is the optimistic side of me. I'm hoping they draw against LAFC and they possibly pick up 3 points. Orlando, I don't think that's possible.
So wait, your crazy thing was 6 points. Your less crazy
more
thing
realistic
is
thing
4 points.
No, my optimistic hope is 4 points. But I
love you, Steve.
I actually see. I think they can beat Orlando. In Orlando, they've done it before. They can do it again.
I think they can as well. But
Triple
I don't think
their points
to.
this week.
Yeah, I think they can beat Orlando. I don't see them getting anything against LAFC if LAFC comes full strength.
Yeah, if LAFC come full strength, I'm going for a 4-0 LAFC win.
Because when I predicted, for example, a couple weeks ago when I predicted them to beat the Galaxy, I was not expecting Zlatan to show up at all. That was a surprise to me.
I think because LAFC, of course, is better known as the Goats 2. I think it's going to be LAFC 2, Vancouver 0 or Vancouver 1. The Orlando game, I think, is more something along the lines of 1-1 or 2-2.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4 goal victory for LAFC on Wednesday, and I fancy a draw as well in Orlando. I want to say 1-1. I just feel 0-0 because it's a struggle to see where our goals are coming from right now. But it's also Orlando have scored in every single game they've played this year. So I'll go with 1-1.
I would have chosen the Goats to have more goals, but I think what's going to happen is kind of what you said earlier, Steve. They're going to get into a lead, and they're going to take the foot off the gas a little bit because they want to save it for Seattle. Yeah,
the Dark Lord is going to be here. But we'll be talking about what else happened in MLS West after this.
Hi, I'm Mark Anthony Kay, and you're listening to the AFTN radio show.
And who are you? The proud Lord said that I must bow so low. Only a cat of a different coat, that's all the truth I know. In a coat of gold or a coat of red, a lion still has claws. And mine are long and sharp, my lord, as long and sharp as yours.
That was a bit different. Let everyone know what that was, Steve.
That was a group called The National, and they were singing The Reigns of Castamere.
And the reason we're playing that is Game of Thrones was back tonight. We won't spoil it for anyone that maybe hasn't seen it yet, like Zach, who's stopping us talking about
you can talk about it all you want. Talk about it all you want.
Yeah, Jon Snow dying was a major surprise. I just did not see that coming. Although I did buy episode 7. We should write down who we think's going to die, which I think is pretty much going to be all the characters. Anyone you like in that show pretty much gets killed. So for me, Jon Snow and Arya is probably going to get killed. But you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. I'm excited that Game of Thrones is back. So I threw a question out on Twitter to some people asking which houses could different MLS teams be and which players could be certain characters. So we'll cover the players and characters next week, I think.
Yeah.
We'll just look at what teams would be what houses, because we got some good responses. I've got a few thoughts as well. Ryan McLeod, he says that Chivas would have been House Rain because they were snuffed out by House Lannister, who he says is the LA Galaxy.
House Rain, which one is that?
House Rain was...
I don't know everything
that
about
was
the
the
show.
Reigns of Castamere, I think. That was... No, is it? I can't remember.
I'll stop asking questions.
Yeah, because it'll be long if you keep asking this. Ryan also says that Atlanta is
I'll
House
check on House
Bolton
Rain.
because they've newly come into power, but they're now experiencing a little bit of sort of problems and adversity. Ian Jones agrees and says that LA Galaxy are the Lannisters. He says Columbus are the Starks, doesn't say why though, and Atlanta are the Dothraki. I guess just because they wreak terror. But for me, I think the Galaxy, they're more like the Targaryens because they used to be all powerful.
Yeah.
Now they want it back. They're making a move
Who's
to
that?
get it back.
Who's that? MLS?
The Galaxy.
Oh, they had used to have
Yeah.
power. Okay.
And they don't have a dragon, but they do have a lion and so on.
Yeah.
House of Rain is the Castamere. House of Rain of Castamere. House Reign of Castamere, sorry.
Which was the song?
Yes, which was a song. So what happened was they made fun of Tyrion's father, Tywin Lannister, made fun of his father, and basically he wiped out their whole house, essentially.
Huh.
That stuff.
That's why I like the show. Lots of
that stuff
revenge.
that happened before
Yeah.
before the
Lots of
show
angry
actually started.
bastards.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they're doing the prequel as well.
Aren't they
which
doing
is
like
gonna be
18
good.
shows, spin-offs or something?
I don't know.
They're doing a lot of spin-offs, showing a lot of the stuff that they've kind of talked about. I think Atlanta are more like the Lannisters because they're currently in power as MLS champs, but you can feel it slipping away.
No,
no one likes them.
I kind of feel like the Red Bulls are more like House Lannister because of that, because they used to have a lot of money behind them. Now they
used
kind
to win
of
supporter
now
shield a lot.
they've run out of gold out of their mines. They don't have gold anymore. They're just kind of borrowing, and so
Deadbolt, is there a group that like everyone hates, but they think they're all that?
Lannisters.
Oh, okay.
I personally I have the Unsullied as FC Dallas, not because of the no balls thing, but because they're kind of homegrown. Because the Sullied are kind of raised from young pups
Yeah.
and raised into the force, and so I kind of think of them as that. The Dothraki, the ones I think of Dothraki is the Sporting Kansas City, because they kind of act as one unit and they kind of swarm you, kind of thing. So I kind of think of them as that.
And Johnny Russell's wild.
Yeah, exactly.
I think pro referees are more like the Unsullied. Because they're meant to be the elite, but they're not really, and they've got no balls most of the time. So.
I think it's the phrase. They're the phrase basically.
Well.
Because they control the pass, the pass from the south to the north, and really they're kind of morons.
But they were wiped out.
They're kind of morons.
Yeah.
Would we love Arya to wipe out the pro referees?
Yes.
The phrase.
Funnily
Walter
enough,
Frey, the one that killed, basically and if you think of it, if we're the Starks, the Whitecaps are the Starks, they would have been in charge of the Red Wedding.
Mm.
So the referees, because they've slaughtered us.
I've heard of this Red Wedding.
You don't watch the show. This is probably not a great section for us to be asking you.
Hey,
then. I thought you had watched
I
it.
thought for half of that you were talking about wrestling.
Oh. JJ Adams from the Province, friend of the show, he says that the Whitecaps are actually the phrase.
I don't see that.
Ryan McLeod, though, says no, the Whitecaps are the Night's Watch.
That makes sense.
Because we're often taking players out of favour with other houses and hoping to turn them into real warriors. But I would say the Night's Watch are successful at that. We're not, so we can't be the Night's Watch.
Who did you say were the phrase?
The phrase are
Please
the
don't let
ones.
us have to explain
The team.
Oh, I
okay.
said. What did I say they were? Oh, no, I said the referees were the phrase, possibly.
Oh.
You don't even know.
Yeah, no, the referees. No, I do remember now. The pro referees are the phrase because they think they're smart, but they're not, and they kind of control us. Very decisive.
And
pass.
JJ Adams said that same group
Yes,
is the
it's the
Whitecaps.
Whitecaps. Canadian Coastal Gunner, though, says the Whitecaps are more like the Castameres because the family or the House of Lannisters wiped them out.
House of Rain. That he meant the Rain of Castamere.
Oh.
Yes, seen from before.
I like to think that we're the Starks. The Whitecaps are the Starks because we're always playing second fiddle to someone, sometimes third if you look at the Cascadian Derby. We lost our head honcho in Robbo.
In the first episode.
Yeah,
the first season.
Well, we lost our head honcho tighter in our first season, so yeah. We're trying to rebuild, and one day we hope that we might rule.
That makes sense that Tater would be Ned Stark because he was honorable, and they basically beheaded him.
Yeah.
When nobody
there's no
expected
room
it.
for anyone that's honorable in this world.
No, beheaded him with no expectations at all.
Yeah. Let's just move on to our MLS news of the week.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's your shirt, though, right? King of the North?
Yeah.
Yes. Better than Queen of the South.
That's a club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never liked him. Apart from when David Nolan was there, he was good. So, MLS
by the way,
West.
I thought the Martells were in New York City FC. The Martells.
Oh, why?
Just because they're kind of fancy guys.
Ah. We'll do some characters next week. Now that I know that Zach doesn't watch the show, this is going to...
I'm familiar with some of the people.
Okay, I know. Actually, so what happened in them? Oh, I've heard of that. I thought you were a big fan. I don't know why. So, MLS West.
Games of the week.
A lot of games this week. And there were some good games, actually. And sometimes I watch all the highlights, sometimes I don't. This week I had to watch all the highlights because there was a lot happening. Started off, Houston beat San Jose 2-1. Now, if you thought the Earthquakes getting their first win last week was going to get them off in a little run, no. Came to an abrupt end.
Guess again.
Yeah, just showing how bad the Timbers clearly are that San Jose beat them 3-0. San Jose lost this one 2-1, but it could have been so much more. There was 3 goals in a 7-minute spell at the start of the second half, but Houston hit the woodwork 3 times, including a penalty.
And who was that? Was that Manotas?
Thomas Martinez.
On the penalty?
Yeah.
I thought it was Manotas.
Oh, no, sorry. Thomas Martinez scored the goal.
The winner.
I can't remember who took the penalty.
I think it was Manotas, and he forgot that you can't score
yes.
Off, if it hits a post, you can't be the first guy to touch it because he scored the rebound.
Yeah.
Oh, but it counted. Yeah.
It didn't count.
We talked about the bad weather in Texas. The game was delayed the second half for over an hour because of lightning.
Why? There's no one in the stadium.
The players. You have to do it for the players.
Yeah. You don't want...
There's insurance.
You don't want Albert Ellis injured.
Albert Ellis?
Well, him either. One of the big games of the weekend was 2 unbeaten sides facing off at the Clink. A lot of empty seats for this one, but the Mariners were playing as well, so it was a kind of double-header thing. But
nobody watches the Mariners.
I thought they got good crowds. Oh, I don't know.
No, they don't.
But Seattle
Maybe
took on TFC. Someone's O had to go, as they say in boxing, unless it was a draw, but it doesn't play in with that nice catchy thing. And in the end, it was TFC's O that was ripped a new one.
It was an interesting game.
It was a good game.
A really nice brace from Jose Altidore.
Yeah.
You see, like you talk
bookending.
Yeah, you talk about a 10, man. That Pozuelo.
Oh, he is good.
He can play.
Didn't score though. Didn't score.
But he set up both goals. He set up the first.
He's got a lovely his delivery.
He's
like
2-footed like nobody.
special.
There's nobody's business. Yeah, he's.
That was
player.
some good scouting because nobody expected him to find somebody from the Belgians.
But
we couldn't get somebody from the Belgians.
But all Michael
for us.
No.
All Michael cares about is his beloved Will Bruin got a brace.
Yeah, I've gone off him a bit now though.
What?
I've given up us ever getting.
It's because he's a flounder.
No, he's aging now. I don't like
an aging flounder.
Aging flounder. This was the game I was talking about when we played the Rosillos.
Yes.
This would have been a good one for a flying saucer attack.
A meteor match.
For 2 teams that you despise, they actually put in a pretty enjoyable match. Altidore was good. He put TFC ahead in the 11th minute. Then
Great header.
tied it up.
Yeah.
2 really good headers, actually.
Yeah.
I thought they were both good. Bruin scored again, and then Christian Rodan. 2 goals in 2 minutes. And Bruin's second goal, with 2 lovely work goals as well. Stephen Caldwell on the commentary, literally seconds after this came out of his mouth, when he said Toronto looked pretty comfortable and Seattle didn't have any answers. Then Bruin scores, and then 2 minutes later they get a second.
It's hard to see when you don't have the full view of the pitch.
Oh, I guess.
You were like harping on your fellow Scot.
There's nothing worse than Scottish people. When I listened to that, because I didn't watch the game on TSN, I was just watching the highlights. I was going to tweet out crying face emoji 6 times. Doesn't work as well orally, but there's an emoji for that as well. Altidore, he got his second of the game to set up a storming finish, and TFC nearly got a draw. Stephen Fry came up with a big stoppage time save. That was
on Baldo.
Probably going to be save of the week,
Baldy.
I think. Yeah.
On Bradley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're still unbeaten, Seattle. They now face LAFC, as we talked about. It should be a cracker. Must-see TV.
0-0.
It probably will be. No, that's the kind of game you
4-4.
build it up.
Yeah, I think more like that, Steve.
Well, a game that was nearly 4-4. It was 3-3. Minnesota, NYCFC. Minnesota opened their new stadium, ripping off Bayern Munich.
No, it's sponsored by the same company. Is that what you mean?
I thought they just thought, Bayern Stadium's got a fancy name.
Well, there's actually a second stadium in the world that I know that has the name, which is Juventus.
Common. You want something like BC Place. There's no other place called BC Place.
For Bayern, it's Allianz Arena. For Juventus, it's Allianz something, and this is Allianz Field, I think.
Well, at least they didn't like to change it up.
Yeah.
It's a nice-looking stadium. Got to give it that. And the romantic in me, I like the home teams to score their first goal in their new stadium, unless it's a team I really, really hate. You kind of
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, there is. East Fife at least scored our first goal in our new stadium when we moved there.
Is it really a stadium?
Stand. Define stadium.
Sorry.
Fire up, I'm a cliche.
I'm just giving you.
But yeah, Minnesota 3, New York City FC 3. Ozzy Alonso got that first goal in the stadium and the first booking as well. You'd have probably put money on the booking, maybe not the goal.
Yes.
Nice volley, though. He took it well.
Not bad for an old man.
Yeah.
Was he like 36?
That's a young man to me. And to all of us, really. NYC, though, they came storming back. There was 4 goals in this one in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, the thing that everyone's talking about, David Ousted's howler on Friday was bad.
The double.
But, oh my.
Well, the last 2 goals were both horrible.
Yeah, but Sean Johnson's howler.
Yes,
I don't know what was going through his mind there as well. Maybe he's just not used to the new grass.
Oh, no, I'm getting confused. This other one I thought was a howler got called back from VAR.
Yeah,
right.
This was the one he let
Sean Johnson,
Oh, awful stuff.
I was a goalie in ice hockey as a child, and that may have happened to me once.
Oh.
Where I went to go play the puck with my stick, and it just went underneath it.
I don't think I've ever done that when I've played goalie, and I'm not that good a goalie, so what does that make Sean Johnson?
But did it not make you think of, do you remember Sean Johnson's first time in Vancouver for Chicago Fire? Gershon Kofi cracked one from like 30, 35 yards, and it bounced just over him like as he dove.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
no.
yeah. It was sad.
I'll dig that out. But this game let us see the good side of VAR, as it was used correctly to rule out a Castellanos goal where he clearly used his arm to control the ball. I would have made it 3-3 at that point.
Would that not have been a Boxall own goal? Or maybe he got it.
I think Boxall might.
Boxall was sliding in there.
Yeah, I don't know if he put it in, but it was clearly a handball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, VAR was used great, but they claimed a point in the
Wait,
end anyway.
VAR can be used properly?
Yeah, it can.
Oh, okay.
Depends who's running it, I think. And if you're playing Vancouver. Now, talking about VAR brings us to Dallas and Portland.
We have to talk about this more?
No, we'll keep this one brief. Dallas 2, Portland 1, the VAR game of the week. Or was that ours? I don't know. I don't know where this puts Portland in the VAR Cup. We're still leading the standings, so I'm looking forward to that at the end of the season. But Jesus Ferreira, his first goal was correctly given on video review.
I think it's Jesus is how you pronounce it.
Oh. I've always said Jesus. I thought he was a goalkeeper because Jesus saves, everyone's talking about. But turns out he's actually a forward for Dallas. Video review correctly gave it because it was a deflection off Chara. Good VAR call. Rita Ziegler scored a penalty to make it 2-0. Then Christian Panedes pulls one back for Portland. Then, this match also had the big talking point of the handball that wasn't given. We've already talked about it. But, it's just getting my anger up again.
So blood pressure.
We should probably move on to RSL and Orlando. 2-1 win for RSL in this one. Got their first win in 5 after 4 straight losses. Yeah, this is the team that we're playing next week, so we want to focus a little bit on Orlando in this one. Orlando didn't look good on either of the goals, I thought, but they did rest Dwyer and Nani, so you know that they're going to be well rested now to take on Vancouver on Saturday. Nani came on as a sub. He's still an absolute wanker, but he's got a really nice free kick to pull a late one back. Orlando, though, they've got 2 wins, 3 losses and 2 draws on the year. They've scored in all their matches. They let 13 against so far in the season. The defence definitely looks like we've got a bit of hope.
Yeah.
And Brian Rowe, we saw what he was like with us last year. I think we've got to have some hope heading into this game. And this game should have given us hope, even with those 2 guys rested.
You got to test him regularly, Brian Rowe. You have to. You can't let him just be.
He was beaten at the near
it.
post for one of the goals, but it would have been hard for any keeper I think, to stop that. It was such a hard shot.
Was it Kai who scored on him the week before?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Well, Kai got another goal
today. Yeah.
This weekend, and another loss for Colorado. So Portland and Colorado, the 2 other teams in the West,
somehow they're below Vancouver.
Yeah, that's how bad they are. I want to play these teams, but we don't play them for weeks. It's so annoying. DC United, well, Colorado took the lead, and then DC United came storming back with 3 unanswered goals.
And they had some good finishes on those goals.
8-minute spell.
They weren't
before
unanswered.
half-time.
They weren't. The Kai got one in there,
but the 3 goals were unanswered.
Oh, okay.
Three
You mean
straight.
uninterrupted. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. And then Kai, nice header.
Yeah. Nice finishes all round in this one, but again, some poor defending. Why can't we play these teams now? Give us this confidence booster. The team that beat us last week, LA Galaxy, 2-0 winners over Philadelphia, with a first-hand half brace from friend of the show, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He won another penalty.
Shocking that.
I don't know it was a penalty.
Did it went to VAR?
No.
Yeah, they reviewed it.
This one feels like
A leg went out.
Like
but-
he looked like he got his leg kicked out from him, like when he went up in the air. And that's
yeah,
where I think.
possibly.
That's where I think the penalty.
He
was
did
given.
well to fall into the guy to make it look convincing, no matter what.
That's what he does. Yeah. He's in Hollywood for a reason.
It's hard to when you get kicked in the leg when you're up in the air, not to you pick kind of decide where you're gonna.
Let's
fall.
try now, Michael. You jump in there. We're gonna kick you.
We'll try with Steve.
I've already fallen.
Steve's had a week of falls.
I've already fallen this weekend. I'm not falling again.
What happened?
I fell off a ladder. Kind of.
What?
Not like Rod Hull. He wasn't fixing his
Okay, you got to
TV
tell me
and
at the
it
break.
died. He'll show you the bruises. It's on his coccyx. I think that was coccyx that he said. It was something like that. He said he'd show me his coccyx later.
I didn't say anything like that.
The final game of the week involving an MLS Western team was today. SKC 2, New York Red Bulls 2, Johnny Russell 1.
Johnny.
Love me some Johnny. Break the bank, bring him to Vancouver. Give them every player. Give him Reyna and Montero in return.
He scored a nice goal to start the game. I text you right away.
Yeah, I wasn't watching it.
Oh,
time, so
I'm sorry. Oh.
That was when I was having my nap because I'm old. But Red Bulls scored 2 lovely goals to get back into it. And then the little young kid, Busio, scored for the 3rd straight game. Forget Alphonso Davies. This guy's the real deal. But in all seriousness, he looks really good. And they're using him well. He's coming off the bench. He's scoring. It got a little bit feisty in stoppage time. Casey hit the bar. And then Gamara sent off for kicking a ball into the stands at a fan.
Yeah.
Out of frustration.
My kids, I was stepped into the other room. My kids were like, "Dad, there's a brawl. There's a brawl. They're fighting. They're fighting."
That's what you want. But what a stupid thing to do. I don't know. You could say he was trying to aim to kick the ball into the advertising hoarding, but there's no way the way that he.
And then after that, they went
to
to VAR, right? And then they give out 2 yellows.
Yeah, 2 of the KC guys got yellows, I think, for pushing and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's not what VAR's meant to be used for.
Exactly.
You're not meant to use it to give a yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not start in VAR. So after all that, the Caps, currently 10th in the West, 2 teams below them. One of 3 teams without a win, along with Colorado and Portland. 3rd worst record in all of MLS. Feels like a long season ahead, and it's maybe hard to be positive about the playoffs right now, but without hope, what do we have? We can only hope that come this summer, MDS is going to have this team flying.
I personally just want to see this team develop, and I want to see the players that I think are somewhat long-term players. I want to see them getting better.
It's making all these loan deals look good, though.
Yeah, that they didn't buy these guys outright or bring them to long-term. Like I said, I don't think Bangura. I don't think he lasts till the to the full season.
You don't think Lass is going to last?
No, and I thought that was the case when they brought him in.
I think once Venuto, because he's been away with the baby and he's missed
Venuto's signed on a deal.
Yeah, once he gets up and running, he'll be your regular starter, I think.
Like I said, I think these guys are still like 2 games into the season, even though it's the 6th game or whatever it is. So I think they're still got some time.
5 in the preseason.
Yeah.
It's 11.
Yeah.
So no cliches from us this week. I like that section next week, so we'll bring that back. I am a cliche section. But
the problem was this episode was so jammed up.
Yes, it definitely was. And I like my nod to the past, to our roots at AFTN. And I thought I'd bring back a really popular section and ask Scott Sutter, what's his favourite jam?
What's your favourite jam?
So again, you're sitting at home. You decide to have some toast or a muffin or something like that.
Yeah.
What would be your favourite jam?
Strawberry.
Oh.
Strawberry jam, yeah. I love strawberries, all kind of like, strawberry cheesecake, strawberry jam, anything with strawberries. That's me.
Superb.
What's your favourite jam? Traffic jam. What's wrong with raspberry? What's wrong with plum? How's about a blob of elderberry on a scone? What's your favourite jam?
I have no idea why my reaction to strawberry was, ooh, it's like the most boring jam you could get. But I don't know. It's the first one we've done in a while. I thought it was excited. I didn't ask Jon Erice about jam.
Oh,
it was.
I think he might have really got confused.
Yeah,
but I don't mind strawberry. It's a
safe,
I
know. I
it's
like
a
strawberry.
Safe jam to have. But I think
strawberry, rhubarb, or rhubarb and ginger's my two.
I still like orange marmalade. Whenever
What?
I get a chance.
That's not
I
a
don't
jam,
like
though.
that.
It's not
That's
a
not
jam.
I know it's
yeah.
not my.
I don't like
your
that.
favorite marmalade?
Strawberry, I like. I can eat that right now. Strawberries, not the jam, but the strawberries.
Let us know what your favourite jam is, because we'll be asking more players as the season goes on, and we'll be back with Football Violence Awareness Month after this.
Hi, I'm Maxime Crépeau from the Vancouver Whitecaps, and you're listening to the EFTN show.
Lead the way, the fire escaping. Now I'll meet you down the street. Light for me, maybe we could be a pair or just exist between. 'Cause I'm the kind of runaway when I don't want the world to know. And even if I try to stay, eventually I'll go. I need shelter. Won't you help me in this silence? Why is something dead not killing me?
Welcome back to the final part of tonight's AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. Tell us what that song was, Steve.
It's a Canadian group called Valley, and the song titled name was Push for Yellow.
Didn't Effie Juarez try that down in Seattle, but it actually turned out to be a push for red?
Oh, it seemed like it, yeah. And he pushed for 2 yellows in that game last week.
Yep. As you know, there's no place for football violence in the modern game. Or is there? I say yes.
In music
because
form.
It's Football Violence Awareness Month here at the AFTN Soccer Show. And this might surprise you. I've got another song that's just called Football Violence. It's from 2006. It's from a group called The Young Boys. Nothing to do with a team in Bern. And this is Football Violence. Oi, oi, indeed. I love me some Young Boys. That was Football Violence on a Friday night. And who didn't watch that VAR decision in the Chicago game and want to go out and run rampant and have some football violence?
I was all right.
I went to a relaxing retreat.
Oh, just me then. Apologies to my neighbourhood. Anyway, now it's time for BC Soccer Web headlines. Oh yeah. And BC Soccer Web headlines is brought to you in partnership with our friends at bcsoccerweb.com, your one-stop site for local, national and international news, links, stories from all around the world. Make it part of your daily routine, morning, noon and night. Check out bcsoccerweb.com. What was catching those eyes of yours this week, Steve?
Oh man, I can hardly wait to hear all the stories.
There's all right stories. Great stories. We'll talk about them. Okay, here we go. So a quick follow-up from a couple weeks ago, actually, about the 48 team 22 World Cup. There were a couple, because of the Saudi Arabia ban on dealing anything with Qatar. There was a couple of countries, you mentioned Oman right there, and Kuwait as well. Oman has basically said now that they're not ready to host.
Yeah.
So they're basically pulling out.
Who would have thought that? Because when I think of World Cup hosts, Oman is like right at the top of my list.
Kuwait hasn't responded yet, so but without both those
I think
countries,
just hoping if they don't respond, it's
Yeah.
just going to be like, let's just not talk about it.
So essentially,
It's ridiculous.
It looks like it's dead at this point. One thing is that has been confirmed. It looks like Argentina and Colombia will be hosting the 2020 Copa America. It will consist of 12 teams, 2 6-team divisions. So everybody basically plays 5 games, round-robin games. There will be 10, obviously the 10 South American teams. There will be 2 guests. Right now, Qatar looks like it's official that they will be going, and China might be the other team. They are not going to be asking. There was rumors that it might be USA and Mexico. Rumors that it was going to be a 16-team Copa America, but it's not. It's just 12 teams.
I know, when I think of a big world tournament and I want to add 2 teams, Qatar and China is at the top of my list.
Well, for South America, the reason why is because obviously Qatar can offer the money, and then China can offer a big audience, and that might be really effective for them there. That's obviously going to create money as well.
It devalues, like, seriously, when you're inviting teams from out with your continent to a continental competition, it just devalues it. Like, we should not play in Copa America.
Was anyone okay? So you said Argentina and Colombia, right?
Yes.
Yeah, these are 2 countries that are like not
Opposite.
neighbors. They're not neighbors.
So basically, 6 teams are going to go one country. 6 teams, they're all going to play their things, and I don't know who's going to host the finals or the quarters or anything.
It's giving me an idea now for Scotland to host with Qatar for the 2022 World Cup.
I thought more like Scotland. They could be a joint Scotland-Morocco bid.
So one person who could have played in Copa America, but he decided to go for Spain, Diego Costa, has been suspended for 8 games, basically essentially the rest of their season, for 4 games for grabbing the referee's arm. All right there. 4 games for saying he was going to do something disgusting to the referee's mother. Now, before you all get upset here, Diego Costa's got a perfectly reasonable thing. He thinks the referee misunderstood. He wasn't saying he's going to do something to the referee's mother. He says he was going to do something to his own mother.
Oh.
So that makes a lot more sense.
Who hasn't wanted to do that?
Speaking of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Oedipus. Diego Costa's got an Oedipus complex. Discuss.
He's got a very large ego, that guy.
Yeah.
My sense.
Where you're going there.
Well, they showed it on American television when they were mentioning what he did.
His ego? They showed it?
No, they showed the fact
not
that
allowed that on American TV.
The fact that he was spitting into his hand and then rubbing it in people's faces and stuff like that, or
His ego?
loogies. He was spitting loogies into his hand. Okay, moving on. North American news. MLS expansion. Sacramento Council has done something that's kind of maybe put them ahead of everybody else. They've put a
Don Garver an envelope of money.
$33 million incentive package to a local group to build infrastructure around their $252 million privately funded stadium already that's up and running.
I like that already, that it's privately funded.
Yeah. Well, the other group, the St. Louis one, well, that move was praised, like I said, by released by the MLS offices.
Up the Republic.
St. Louis also is going to be doing a privately funded stadium if they get it. Them and Sacramento seem to be the top two favorites.
Yeah.
There is an expert at the university, I think in St. Louis, that feels he's an economics guy. He thinks that MLS will actually pick both of them and pick a third team because they're going to be expanding to 30. They haven't announced that yet, but they feel that they're
You
going
have
to
to
go
have
30.
an even number.
Yeah,
Right.
they're not going to be going to
It'd be
29.
ridiculous
So,
not.
and the other teams that are still interested are Detroit, as we know, San Antonio, and Raleigh in Carolina.
San Antonio, I feel sorry for because they've got a good case, but you can't have 4 Texan teams when 2 of the Texan teams aren't drawing anything as it is.
And
That
the
would
third
just be
hasn't drawn
ridiculous.
anything at all yet.
I know. And we're going to boycott them. I'll never mention them.
Some news in Canada, obviously. Well, this kind of went international. The news from all the weeks before about the scandal involving Canada Soccer and the Whitecaps and the coach, it's kind of gone international in the Guardian paper. It was a very kind of step-by-step, concise.
It was a long article.
A long article went step by step on everything that was in the blogs, everything that's happened with the Andrea Neal post, everything that happened with the 22 players that came out with quotes and updated quotes from Kieran McCormick.
It didn't have any of the stuff from the Breaker, right?
No,
that Diane voice stuff is
it didn't have that.
Pretty
in
harsh,
and
pretty damning.
And also, it did point a finger towards Bob Lenarduzzi as well for the first time. None of the other
And
articles
they
have.
named lots of names in it as well. So yeah.
And you were talking about, you heard something on what podcast? Or?
Oh yeah. Well, Simon Fudge, former employee of the Whitecaps from 2007 to 2012, who worked in, I don't know if it's communications technically or what, but
he wrote a lot of the match reports.
Yeah, he did a lot of that
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Uh,
never asked him what
he was talking this week on another Canadian podcast and shared that just how when he was working there, when this was all happening, he I don't know if he was told or people he's worked with were told were to kind of immediately remove
any mention of the coach,
or his contact stuff on the website or whatever. And the kind of the way he expressed it, it was kind of like it was a bit maybe abnormal for kind of someone who was leaving and from such a high position. He just felt, I think, the approach or whatever. I think what he was trying to convey was there was something more to this than kind of a normal parting of ways kind of thing. But maybe I'm reading too much into his comments, but that's sort of how I don't know.
You perceived it, yeah. Some other news out of Canada: the Canadian national women's team had another win. They're still undefeated this season, or in the 2019 year. They come back from behind to beat Nigeria 2-1. Janine Becky and Sophie Schmidt scored goals.
Holy Schmidt! And
Janine Becky also I think signed an extension with the Man City women's team as well this week. Congratulations to her. They're still undefeated, like I said. It was their first goal conceded in so many matches, but it also is the first time they scored 2 goals in a match as well. So they did what they needed to do. Last bit of news, 2019 CONCACAF Gold Cup, they draw in the groups. Canada will be drawn in a group with Martinique, Cuba, and Mexico.
I think it's an excellent draw.
Some people are all mad, like, oh, it's too early. It's like, no, this is great. You get to play Mexico in the Gold Cup. You have the U.S. in your League of Nations. Like, you need these games. You need less of the countries who are not official FIFA members and more of these big challenges.
Mexico is in Denver. That's going to be
they're in Mexico.
Tough one.
They're playing Mexico in Denver, yeah. If they do, like, obviously the top 2 teams, because there are 4 groups now, there won't be any third place advancers. The top 2 teams will advance, obviously, and because Canada, everybody's assuming at this point. I know it's just an assumption, but assuming they finish second, they will most likely face Costa Rica.
Assuming they finish first, what are you talking about?
We'll just go with past history. But
6 points for the Whitecaps.
But they finished second. They faced the B group, number 1, which is Costa Rica.
Which is another winnable match right now because Costa Rica are not firing on all cylinders.
And also the B group is very weak, like the weakest, so the Costa Rica is most likely to finish first.
And we get a look at Cuba ahead of the League of Nations team.
I said they should it would be better if they play these real nations. Martinique, I believe, they're not a FIFA recognized team, are they?
No,
they're not.
But they're well, Are they not a
they're
top 100 ranked?
They are like high up there, but I think Curacao is the one that's a top 100. Not
Are they officially a FIFA nation now, though? I thought
think
they were one of those French colony kind of
Yeah, I
things
think
where
they are.
they had like Jocelyn Angloma used to play for them in these competitions.
Yeah,
and
I think you're right there.
when he was like 40.
But I think it's a good draw. You want to get these tests, and it's just a shame that there's not games really close to hand here that we could kind of get down to with ease, like Seattle.
Yeah,
Or
I don't think there weren't any scheduled in Seattle or
nothing
Portland.
at all.
Yeah.
How close is Denver to Morocco?
Closer than Scotland.
All right. The back to the Kira McCormick thing. It would be interesting to see how this continues to develop.
For sure. Yeah.
And what, if anything.
Well, new stuff seems to come out every week.
And just this international element to it, like more people hearing these people's story.
I know that it came before the MLS period, but doesn't the MLS have any responsibility into checking into seeing what's going on here, because it does involve one of their quote unquote franchises?
I'm sure they've put a
feeler out there,
a message over, say, hey, what's this all about?
Yeah. Because they're probably like,
because it hurts their image, or it could hurt their image,
because they're calling it
happening here.
While it wasn't, they're saying MLS team Vancouver Whitecaps whenever it's mentioned in the article. So it is, MLS is being brought into it. So you got to think that they're going to, and the same people that were in charge back then are still in charge now. So it's still, you got to figure that they're going to be doing something about this.
One thing I will say, and I'm not defending the Whitecaps, but one thing I will say is people are like, why have the Whitecaps not said anything? They basically can't, because no matter what they say, they leave themselves open. If they say, we handled things wrongly at that time, they leave themselves open to get sued. If they say we didn't do anything, they leave themselves open to ridicule of, well, people are saying all this other stuff. There's nothing the Whitecaps can say just now that is going to help them. I think they've chosen to have radio silence because of that, which isn't ideal.
That's not ideal
but
either.
I do understand why.
But that's, I think, part of the root of this problem, Michael, is because what you're saying is a valid perspective, and I totally understand it. I think what people want is not what will open you to legal or whatever. I think some people want do the right thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying what that is, but I think that's what people are feeling.
The CSA as well, though.
A
lot of folk aren't talking about them.
They
need to come out and say something, because he was an under-20 coach.
And Kara McCormick mentioned it, that it's like in the article that the CSA is one who's certifying coaches.
Yeah, and they're the governing body.
Yes. So
and I think they'll have a role to play in all this, and whatever is going to, however
their
things are going to move
silence has
forward.
been even more telling, I think.
Right, but I think the role of the Whitecaps, part of it's almost a double, because they were like the Vancouver team was like the residency for the women's team.
They still have the elite, the Rex Elite now, which Rhiannon Wilkinson's in charge of.
Right, but at that time, that was like the national pool of players.
It was. And
so it was their team and their national team that they were explicitly tied to.
And more things are going to come out, and it's just a horrible situation all round, really. But that is it for this week's show. Just before we go, let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat.
For me, it's at Zachary AM, and I'm part of the Movement Curve Collective. And one of the things I learned this week is that stuff you said about the House of That or this. Or
the House of Rain.
Yeah, House of Rain. There you go.
You learned a lot about Game of Thrones.
There you go.
I could point you to some YouTube videos where it's they're fantastic. They just like give you the whole history of Game of Thrones.
Kind of
background.
like the MCU timeline.
Yes,
ones?
but even like the stuff that happened before the show started.
Oh, there you go.
Awesome stuff.
I can point you to lots of videos of Daenerys, but we'll talk about that off air. I'm Michael McCall. You can find me online looking at videos of Daenerys, and also follow me on Twitter at AFTN Canada and Instagram at AFTN Soccer. Give us a like on YouTube and iTunes, and leave a rating and review if you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week, and until then, thanks for listening. Take care, and more on the Cats for a 6-point weekend.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah,